Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we are going to tackle one of the biggest questions in home design. What is it that makes a space look, cheap? And way more importantly, how do we fix it? So let's get right into it.
You know that feeling, right? You walk into a room and you can't quite put your finger on it, but something just feels unfinished, or maybe a little disjointed. It's a super common experience, and I promise you, the answer almost never has to do with how much money was spent. And this right here is the absolute core of what we're talking about today. That high-end, really sophisticated look, it comes from thoughtful choices, not from a huge price tag. It's all about creating a space that feels personal and put together, and that's something anybody can do. So when you really boil it down, designers say there are basically three fundamental issues that can make a room feel cheap, no matter how much you've actually invested in it. Let's break those down. Okay, first up, a space just feels thoughtless, like things were just thrown together without a real plan, maybe some generic art or impulse buys just to fill a wall. Second, it lacks what's called material integrity, where you see obvious imitations that just don't feel authentic. And third, the room is visually flat. There's no texture or depth to really draw your eye in. Getting a handle on these three pitfalls is the key to avoiding them. Let's start with the area that makes the biggest splash, the foundation of your room. You absolutely have to get the scale of your major pieces right. It is completely non-negotiable because if the proportions are off, nothing else you do is going to feel right. Oh man, this slide shows one of the most common mistakes out there, the tiny island rug. A small rug just floating in the middle of the floor makes a room feel so choppy and unfinished. The analogy I've heard, which is just perfect, is it's like trying to cover a swimming pool with a hand towel. The fix is what we call an anchor rug, one that's big enough to unify the whole seating area.
So you're probably asking, okay, how big is big enough? Well, here's a great rule of thumb. For most standard living rooms, you're going to want a rug that is at least 8 by 10 feet. That size ensures that you can get the front legs of your sofa and your chairs sitting right on it, which visually grounds the entire space.
Now let's talk about what's on your walls. One of the fastest ways to make a space feel amateur is hanging your art way, way too high. The professional standard, the thing they do every time, is hanging it at eye level. This means the center of the artwork should be about 57 to 60 inches from the floor. It's such a simple little tweak, but it makes a world of difference.
Okay, now look at this room and see how it all comes together. See how that big rug connects all the furniture? It creates this one cohesive zone. And the art, it feels like it's part of the room's conversation, not just floating above it all. This is what intentional design looks like. All right, once that foundation is solid, the next layer we need to think about is atmosphere. And you know what shapes a room's atmosphere more than anything? Light and color. Be honest, are you guilty of this? Relying on that one single, super bright ceiling light, what designers sometimes call the big light, is such a classic mistake. It creates this harsh pool of light right in the center of the room and leaves all the corners in shadow, which actually makes the room feel smaller and just not very welcoming. So what's the solution? It's called layered lighting. This is the secret the pros use. They combine 3 different types of light. You've got ambient, which is for your overall general light. Then there's task lighting, for specific things like reading. And finally, accent lighting, to highlight cool stuff like artwork or plants. When you put them all together, they create this incredible depth and warmth. But listen, it's not just about how many lights you have. The kind of light bulb you use is just as important. Those cool blue-tone bulbs, they can give off a really sterile, almost clinical vibe. For that cozy high-end feeling, you always want to stick with warm white bulbs, somewhere between 2700 and 3000 Kelvin. They make for much softer, way more flattering. Okay, so we've got our foundation set, and our atmosphere is on point. The final layer is the polish. It's all in the details, the finishes and materials that really signal quality and thought. This is where really small changes can have a huge impact. I absolutely love this quote because it captures the idea so perfectly. Right? Just like a great watch or a nice pair of earrings can elevate an entire outfit, quality hardware can totally transform the look of your cabinets and furniture. It is a small detail that speaks volumes. Just look at the difference it makes here. On the left, you have these clean lines and that brass finish from the modern poles, and it gives the kitchen this really sharp, contemporary feel. But on the right, the hardware is chunkier, more traditional, and it adds this feeling of weight and permanence.
This is a pretty affordable upgrade that can make builder-grade cabinets look completely custom. And that brings us to a really crucial idea that designers call material honesty. Basically, when a material is obviously pretending to be something it's not, like a super fake-looking wood veneer, the whole illusion just falls apart. If you can't afford real marble countertops, it is so much better to choose a beautiful butcher block or a quality laminate that owns what it is, instead of a cheap imitation. Authenticity always, always looks more high-end.
So, all this brings us to our final section, which is honestly less about specific rules and more about a shift in your mindset. If you want that truly elevated look, you have to stop thinking like a decorator and start thinking like a curator. The number one mistake is probably this desperate need to have a finished home right away. It leads to so many design regrets, but a home that feels really personal and layered, well, that's a collection. It's built slowly, over time, with pieces that you genuinely love. It's totally okay to have empty spaces while you wait to find the perfect piece. This slide breaks it down perfectly. The decorator mindset is about filling empty space, maybe chasing trends or buying those big matching furniture sets that lack personality. The curator mindset, on the other hand, is all about telling a story with your choices. It's about collecting unique pieces that actually mean something to you and always choosing quality over quantity. So, how do you actually start thinking like a curator? Well, you can start with this simple rule. Only display things that are beautiful, functional, or have real sentimental value to you. Mix your pieces instead of buying a matching set. And please, don't be afraid of empty space. It lets your best pieces breathe. And start looking for unique items in unexpected places like thrift stores or when you travel. At the end of the day, your home is a reflection of you. It should be the one place in the world that tells your story better than anywhere else. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. What story is your home telling right now? And maybe more importantly, what story do you want it to tell? Thanks so much for tuning in.